Have you ever looked at an old photo of yourself and just stopped? Not because you looked bad, but because you genuinely couldn't pinpoint when it happened. When did your face change? When did you start forgetting names you used to know instantly? When did you start needing a moment, just a moment, to remember where you put your keys? It crept up on you, quietly, invisibly. And here's what nobody tells you. That feeling, that slow, creeping fade, it wasn't random. It wasn't just getting older. There was something driving it, something specific, something happening inside your brain on a molecular level. A single protein, quietly pulling levers, weakening the connections between your brain cells, dimming the lights bit by bit. Scientists just found it. They're calling it FTL1, and what they discovered about it and how to potentially stop it might be the most important brain science story of the decade. Let's start with something we all take for granted. Your brain is made of roughly 86 billion neurons. These neurons talk to each other constantly, firing signals back and forth across tiny gaps called synapses. Every thought you have, every memory you recall, every word you find, all of it is just neurons talking to each other across those gaps. Now, imagine those connections slowly getting weaker. Not gone, not broken, just weaker. Like a phone signal dropping from 5 bars to 4, then to 3. You can still make the call, but things start dropping. Things start taking longer. Things that used to be automatic start requiring effort. That is brain aging. And for a long time, scientists assumed it was just inevitable wear and tear, like a car engine getting old, like a battery losing its charge after enough cycles, just the price of time. But something about that never quite added up, because not everyone ages the same way. You've probably seen it yourself. 2 people the same age, and one of them is sharp, quick, present. The other is struggling. And the difference isn't always lifestyle. It isn't always diet or exercise or how much they slept. So what was it? Researchers started digging, and in the process of studying aging mice, watching their brains change in real time, they found something they weren't looking for: a protein. One specific protein that seemed to be at the center of everything. Here's where it gets extraordinary. The protein is called FTL1, and in young brains, healthy, sharp young brains, it exists in low levels, quiet, almost invisible, not causing any trouble. But as the brain ages, FTL1 starts accumulating, building up, and as it builds, something measurable starts happening to the synapses, those connection points between neurons we talked about. They weaken, not dramatically, not all at once, slowly, gradually. The signal between neurons gets noisier, less reliable. The brain has to work harder to do the same things it used to do effortlessly. And the researchers found something that genuinely stopped them. When they artificially reduced FTL1 levels in older mice, the synaptic connections got stronger again. Memory performance improved. The aged brain started behaving more like young brains. Let that sink in for a second. They didn't add anything. They didn't inject some miracle drug. They simply dialed down this one protein, and the brain started recovering. Now, this is mice, not humans, and science is careful for good reason. But the mechanism they identified, the way FTL1 interferes with synaptic strength, that same mechanism exists in the human brain. The pathway is conserved, which is why the neuroscience world paid attention, because this wasn't just another interesting finding. This was a potential target, a lever, something you could, in theory, actually do something about. Here's the part I really want you to sit with. We tend to think of brain aging as something that happens to elderly people, something future you will deal with, something decades away. But the research tells a different story. The accumulation of proteins like FTL1 doesn't start at 70. It doesn't start at 60. The earliest measurable changes in synaptic strength, the earliest signs of cognitive aging,
start appearing in your 30s. Your 30s. That low-grade mental fog you feel some afternoons, the names that don't come as fast as they used to, the tasks that take slightly more effort to start, these are not random. These are not stress. These are the early, quiet signs of a process that has already begun, and it compounds. Think of it like interest on a debt. A small amount in your 30s doesn't feel like much, but left unchecked, by your 50s and 60s, the accumulation becomes significant. The connections that have been slowly weakening for decades start showing up as real, noticeable decline. Now here is the genuinely hopeful part. Because the same way compound interest works against you on a debt, it works for you when you invest early. The brain has a remarkable plasticity, a remarkable ability to strengthen connections, build new pathways, and compensate if you give it what it needs. And understanding that FTL1 is a key driver of synaptic weakening gives scientists and us something concrete to work with. This is not doom. This is a roadmap. Let's make this even more concrete. Right now, as you watch, your brain is doing something remarkable just to process what I'm saying. Your auditory cortex is decoding sound. Your language centers are extracting meaning. Your hippocampus is tagging this as potentially worth remembering. Your prefrontal cortex is connecting it to things you already know. All of that happens in milliseconds, automatically, effortlessly.
But every single one of those processes depends on clean, strong synaptic connections. When FTL1 accumulates and weakens those connections, the speed drops, the accuracy drops. The brain starts making small errors it would never have made before. You lose a word mid-sentence. You walk into a room and forget why. You read a paragraph and realize you absorbed none of it. These are not signs of stupidity. They are signs of infrastructure under stress. And here is what makes the FTL1 discovery so significant. It tells us that this infrastructure stress is not random. It has a biological cause, and biological causes, unlike the passage of time, can potentially be addressed. That is an enormous shift in how we think about the aging brain. Now, FTL1 specific treatments are still in the research pipeline. We are not at the point of a pill or a supplement that targets it directly. Science moves carefully, and that's a good thing. But here's what the same body of research consistently shows about what keeps synaptic connections strong and FTL1 accumulation slow. 1. Physical movement. Not marathon training, not extreme gym sessions. Regular, moderate movement. A 30-minute walk, a bike ride, dancing around your kitchen directly stimulates a molecule called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of it as fertilizer for your neurons. It strengthens synaptic connections and appears to counteract exactly the kind of weakening FTL1 drives. This is one of the most replicated findings in neuroscience. Movement protects the brain, full stop. 2. Genuine cognitive challenge. Not brain training apps, not Sudoku. Real novelty. Learning a new language, playing an instrument, taking up a skill you've never tried before. When your brain encounters genuine challenge, something it can't do yet, it builds new synaptic pathways. It literally grows new connections to compensate and adapt. 3. Social connection. This one surprises people, but deep, meaningful conversation is one of the most cognitively demanding things a human brain does. Following someone's train of thought, reading their emotion, formulating a response in real time, that is a full brain workout. Loneliness, by contrast, accelerates cognitive aging faster than almost any other lifestyle factor. 4. Deep sleep. You knew this was coming. Remember the glymphatic system, your brain's pressure wash? It clears protein buildup, including, researchers believe, the kind of protein accumulation that FTL1 is part of. Deep sleep is not just rest,
It is your brain actively cleaning house. 5. Chronic stress management. Cortisol, the stress hormone, directly damages neurons in the hippocampus, the brain's memory center. Chronic stress is not just unpleasant, it is structurally damaging to the brain over time. Managing it is not a luxury, it is maintenance. None of this is radical, none of it requires a prescription, but all of it, done consistently, speaks directly to the biological mechanisms that determine how fast your brain ages. Here's what I want to leave you with. For most of human history, brain aging felt like fate, like something written in your genes, sealed at birth, inevitable. But the science is telling us something different now. It's telling us that aging has a mechanism, that the mechanism has specific drivers, that those drivers can, at least in part, be influenced by things you do every single day. FTL1 is not your destiny. It is a variable, and the fact that scientists found it, isolated it, studied it, and are already working on how to target it means we are closer than we have ever been to genuinely understanding how to protect the brain across a lifetime. That is not science fiction. That is 2026 neuroscience. So the next time you forget a word or lose your keys or feel that afternoon fog, don't just shrug it off. Understand what's happening, and remember, you have more influence over it than you think. If this changed how you see your own brain, hit subscribe, because next week we are going somewhere even more unexpected. Scientists have discovered that your nose might be the earliest warning system for Alzheimer's, detecting changes in your brain years, possibly decades, before any other symptom appears. Your nose detecting brain disease before your brain even knows. That one is going to surprise you.